Welcome to episode 8 of Life Without Cravings. I want to share some of the mistakes that I made when I tried to quit. Because so many of you are telling me that what you need help with is to deal with the cravings. And I figure that you are probably making some of the same mistakes that I did, if you're not making all of them. Because I think these mistakes are pretty much universal. Most people are making them. And the reason for that is that we have been taught that that's how we should handle it, when it's very inefficient, to be fair. So if your problem literally is that you don't know how to approach your cravings, I have a complete training with videos, exercises, everything that you need to know in order to quit. And it's completely free. It's called Master Your Cravings, and you can just go to the link of this podcast and sign up for it, and you will get it delivered to your inbox. So if that is your problem, that is your solution. However, the problem, as I see it, for most people, is that even when they have the perfect tool to do this, they don't really want to do it. And that sounds a little bit silly. And you might think, well, if you have the perfect tool and you know how to do it, what's the problem? Why wouldn't you want to do it? The thing is that our brains are working against us because it's uncomfortable to do this work, and our brains don't like doing things that are uncomfortable. So when you don't know how to manage your mind, you're not going to be able to do it. And this is a super important step that you pretty much need to do in order to be able to actually quit permanently. If you don't do this work, if you're only using the tool, you can still be successful, but I bet you that at some point you're going to fall off the wagon again. So let me tell you what I used to do. And bear in mind that I did this with a master's degree in nutrition while working as a personal trainer, and I did this for many, many years. I had extensive knowledge about how to eat healthily, about how to exercise. It had nothing to do at all with knowledge. This did not stem from a lack of knowledge. So if you think that, well, you knew a lot of things, it has nothing to do with it. I've known a lot of things for a long period of time and not been able to do it. So I would sit down and I would create the perfect meal plan. I would cover all the recommended daily intakes for minerals and nutrients, and I would make sure that I met all the requirements, at least spread out over a week, because if you do that daily, the diet isn't going to be natural. Anyhow. And I would have this beautiful plan with great unprocessed foods that would essentially give me everything that I need on paper. I would tell myself that I'm going to start on Monday, and I would imagine what it would feel like and what my body would look like when I was finally going to be able to get rid of that baby fat that I was carrying, when I could finally kick the sugar. And I was genuinely excited. It wasn't like this didn't connect with me, because it did. And then Monday would come round and I would wake up in the morning and I would feel really determined and excited about doing this and hopeful that this time it was going to work. Sometimes I would get to Monday evening, other days or other times I would get maybe a week, maybe a few weeks, and on a few occasions I did a few months. And that's not bad, but it's not permanent. So the problem that I had absolutely nothing to do with my diet. I had a really good diet. The problem was that I would fight my cravings. Like, I was on a warpath and I expected the cravings to go away if I just got my diet right. That was an expectation of mine, because I thought it had all to do with blood sugar and hormones and blah blah blah. So if I could just sort that out, it would go away. But if that actually happened, and if that was actually true, then I wouldn't fail after several months on this diet, because I wouldn't have a reason to. So of course the cravings never went away. They were always coming back. They might have been milder, I might not have had as many cravings, but they will always come back. And I would be so uncomfortable when the cravings hit. I could not sit still, I couldn't focus on literally anything anymore. This is great for relationships, by the way. Not so much. My whole body used to scream at me to do something about it. I don't know if you're familiar with feeling like you literally have ants walking around in your veins or something. It just feels like I need to go and do it. It feels compulsive. And I seriously couldn't figure out what to do, because the only solution to a craving is to give in to the craving and give the craving what it's asking for. And that is still true. The only thing that will solve your craving is to eat or do whatever it is that you crave. So, and that was the thing that I tried to avoid, of course. I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. So, on one hand, I wanted to quit, but I didn't really want to sit through the cravings. I didn't want to have them, and it felt compulsory for me to go and do something about it. And I tried a lot of things to get rid of that. So, it would be like a massive fight. A fight that I fought with willpower. So, depending on how long I could hold out, that's how long I was going to be able to actually do this successfully. So here's the thing. When you handle your cravings this way, you won't be able to quit. Not permanently anyway. You might be able to quit for a little while. But you know that when you keep falling off the wagon and you keep going back to the carbs and you keep doing the things that you say that you're not going to do, what you are doing is not working. I fooled myself for years telling me that this is working. The only problem here is that I don't have enough willpower, or I'm not strong enough. So if I can just, do it better, it's going to work next time. But it didn't. So don't fool yourself. Give yourself a fair assessment of what's going on. If you have tried things and they don't work, why do we keep trying the same thing again? I kept trying them again because they worked to some extent. And then it was just like, well, it's my willpower that isn't, or I'm not strong enough to actually do it. So I didn't blame the method that I was using. I was blaming my willpower, or my inability to stick with something, and thinking that I must be a weak person or whatever. I had lots of thoughts, and none of them were very kind to myself. We don't want to use willpower, because willpower is something that is very limited. You will usually wake up in the morning and your bucket of willpower is restored, you have lots of it, and then depending on what's happening during the day, that is just going to be sipped out continuously, and when the evening comes, you don't really have any of that left. And that's probably why most of us don't really think or crave ice cream in the morning, because we don't see that as an option. But there's nothing that says that actually you could have ice cream for breakfast every day. It's just that we haven't grown up that way. Some people probably do, but I have never really done that unless I've been really ill or something like that. So the less willpower you have left at the end of the day, the less capable you're going to be to resist your cravings. So in the evenings, when we don't have much of it, we usually give in. And that's why most people have problems in the evenings, after dinner, when they watch TV, all of those things, when they come home from work. And they're just exhausted from the day that they've had and all the things they have had to deal with. And then we just need that relief. Eating some carbs, that will feel really good. In the moment anyway. So because willpower doesn't last, the best thing you can do in this situation is to expect to have cravings and then just accept that you do. It really isn't harder than that. Expect them to be there and accept that they are there. And when you do, when you can accept that the cravings are there, but you know that you don't have to respond to them. So that's an important part as well. Just expect them to be there, but know that you don't have to respond to them. Then you're doing it right. So this is a skill that you want to practice. It's not going to come to you instantly. If you have been resisting your cravings for years, it could take time and it will feel difficult. It might even feel impossible at times, but it is possible, and you can just learn how to do that. When you can truly let the craving be there and be at peace with having a craving and not really be that bothered about it, you will be able to start relaxing about it. And once you relax about it, the compulsion to respond to that craving will go away. And your desire for the thing that you're craving will lessen, which all of a sudden makes that manageable. And in no time at all, I bet you that that specific craving is going to be coming back very rarely. Every now and then it might turn up, but it's not going to be a problem for you because you have now learned a new response. And another thing that I did wrong was to expect that the cravings would stop. And when they didn't, I would get really, really frustrated. And I think that this is a common one. People are just like, how do I get the cravings to stop? And I'm like, sorry, you don't. We can't just stop them. They're always going to be there. But I was really frustrated, and I would feel like this whole battle was completely useless because it was clear to me that I couldn't win this battle. No matter how hard I tried and how much I wanted it, how good my diet was, the cravings just wouldn't go away. So how could I ever win this battle? Because it didn't occur to me that I could just allow the cravings to be there and not actually eat the chocolate and the ice cream, etc. It didn't occur to me. It felt like when I have a really strong craving, that is compulsory. I have to respond to it and I have to eat something, or I have to fight it with willpower. I did have some success on the keto diet, but eventually something would tip me over and I would go back to eating sugar again, and I would assume that this is my life. There's absolutely nothing that I can do about it, and I freaking hate it. Not fun, but there is nothing I can do about it. It was like I had given up, and I think intermittently I just got that little flame that said, but maybe. I hadn't given up 100%, but let's say I had given up 95%. And that is not fun. It feels awful when you believe that your whole life is going to be this way, where just you're living day to day with a compulsion to eat a lot of crap just because you can't say no. And if you do say no, you're going to have to fight your way through that. And I don't wish that on anyone. I know there are people suffering from all sorts of things, all sort of terrible things, but this is what I was suffering with, and I think this is terrible enough, and it's completely unnecessary. I really don't want anyone to have to do this. And I'm here to tell you that you can do this. There is a way out of this, and it's simpler than you think. You just have to do it. So what I want you to realize is that because we have responded to our cravings so many times, over and over again, some of us for decades, like, it's a learned behavior. You have a really strong, well-practiced neural pathway in your brain, and this is the same theory. People always say, once you learn how to bike, you will never forget how to do it. Once you learned to crave a certain thing, you will never forget how to do it. You have learned this forever. And this is not, it's not a bad thing, it's just not serving you. So the cravings will never go away as such, because that neural pathway will always be there. But the cravings can change, and you can literally learn how to respond to them differently. So they will always be there to tempt you unless you learn how to manage your mind. Unless you do that, you're always going to be at risk of falling back again. Always. So this is the work that you really need to focus on. If you want to get out of this mess, of this never-ending cycle of binging and then not binging and binging and then fighting your way through not binging, this is what you need to do. You need to learn how to manage your mind, because from that place you can change things. But if you just have something like a strategy, but you can't stick with that strategy, it's not going to help you. Even if it's the best strategy in the world that fits you really well, if you can't get your mind in place of actually making sure that you keep doing it, it's not going to help you. And the last thing that I want to mention is that one thing that really didn't help me at all was this all or nothing thinking. So yes, I did need to quit the carbs, because the more carbs I have in my diet, the worse my cravings would be. And the harder it would obviously be for me to stay on track. But ultimately, the amount of carbs in my diet would just determine how quickly that I would fail. So as soon as I did, as soon as I fell off, I would just think that, okay, I did all of this. I went through all of this struggle for nothing. Or so I thought anyway. I would never ever give myself credit for the days that I actually succeeded, because my expectation of myself was to be perfect. I would tell myself that I'm too intelligent to fail, this is embarrassing, I know better than failing, I have all this knowledge and I'm helping other people eat well. I really should not be here. I really shouldn't be struggling with this. I should have been able to do it. There was a lot of pressure there, and I still have a lot of pressure on me, that self-imposed pressure. So when I did this, I would feel really disgusted with myself for not being able to do what I had said I was going to do. Because in pretty much every other area of my life, I am really trustworthy. And I'm always doing what I say that I'm gonna do. Unless it comes to myself and my cravings for sugar. Then I would never do what I said I was going to do. And even now, I don't really celebrate enough. I haven't had any sugar for almost 9 months. And I really should celebrate that. And not because it's hard to do, because it really isn't. I don't even think about it. I don't count the days, but I did it for the sake of recording this. I want to celebrate because I made the decision to do it and I have stuck with that decision. That is what I want to celebrate. That I have actually done what I said that I was going to do with regards to the amount of sugar that I have in my diet. So this podcast is going live on the 10th of September. Yes, in New Zealand, which means that I haven't had sugar for 262 days. I have had 262 wins. I've had 262 fucking days without sugar and I have not celebrated. And that sounds crazy when I say it like that. It's mind-blowing to me that I have done this. If I go back 5 years, or maybe slightly more, I couldn't even conceive of this, because I was in that place where I was convinced that this was just my life. I was going to struggle. I was going to go on and off and on and off. And depending on how far I could go on the off sugar diet, that would be what would determine my health and my weight. But I'm off, and I'm not scared of falling back on off again. Sorry, I'm off the sugar, but I'm not scared of starting to eat sugar again. I'm not scared that this is gonna go out of control, even if I have something, because I have trained myself to use the tools that I'm teaching you. I know how to use them, and I can use them whenever I choose to. And it's so much easier than I thought. And I keep saying that, and you might keep thinking that I'm completely nuts, but once you get over that hump, it really isn't that hard. So even though this is completely mind-blowing to me, when I think about it, my brain just wants me to focus on something different. My brain wants me to, or it wants to tell me that I should have done this a very long time ago, so it's not good enough. And if I listen to my brain, I can't win. I can't compete with that. If I should have done it several years ago, I can't win, because that is in the past. But my brain wants to bring me there every single time. I think, yeah, 262 days, that's pretty good. It's like, yeah, well, that should have happened 10 years ago, shouldn't it? But if I listen to that, I'm not going to feel very good. And I'm more likely to just give up again. And like, well, what was the reward in that? It doesn't feel like much fun. So please do not listen to your brain when it's offering up a lot of bullshit. Just celebrate, or if you can't celebrate, just acknowledge every little win that you have along the way. Every single day that you go without sugar, that is one more day that you have without the sugar. And if you hadn't made that decision, you wouldn't have had that sugar-free day or carb-free day. And that is a win. If you do it every other day, for 10 days, you still have 5 days without sugar. 5 days where you have practiced a new behavior. And you know that the more you practice this new behavior, the easier it's going to get. So if you can go 1 day, you can go 2 days, and then you can go a week, you can go a month, a year. I mean, where's the limit? You can go for the rest of your life if you want to. And that is a choice that you have. A choice that you can make to decide yourself. Like, okay, I'm just gonna do 1 day at a time in the beginning. Right now for me, that 1 day is I'm gonna do a year. And I'm gonna test myself on New Year's Eve. And I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just talking about it to tell you what I'm doing. But that would be interesting. But it's not like I'm looking forward to New Year's Eve just so that I can have some ice cream or whatever. I really don't care. Which is, in itself, is amazing. So just think about that. Like, you could, if you can do 1 day, you can do 365 days. You can do all the rest of your days that you have on Earth. It is possible. You just need to get rid of all the bullshit that your brain is going to throw at you. You need to start questioning every stupid thing that your brain is offering you, because it's doing it to protect you for something that it think is a good reason. It's just a simple brain error that is caused by the intake of processed carbs. That's all it is. Don't listen to it. Just say, hey brain, I appreciate you. Thank you for trying to take care of me. But I really know what I'm doing. I'm fine. I don't need to listen to that. So if you're sick of living a life where you just feel like shit all the time because you have no control of your food intake, start with these 5 things. So first of all, allow your cravings. Allow them to just be there. Don't try to willpower them away, because that would just make things worse. Second thing is, don't expect your diet or any sort of supplements or whatever to eliminate your cravings, because that's not going to happen. That is something that will come when you can accept them and when you can start reinforcing a different kind of behavior. Third thing is, celebrate every single tiny win that you have, even if it's just 1 day, 1 sugar-free day in a whole week. Celebrate that, because that is still progress from having no days without sugar. Even if it's just half the day, maybe that is an improvement for you. Like, start where you are and just give yourself a pat on the shoulder for what you have actually achieved. For every single tiny improvement, because it's still progress and you're moving in the right direction. If you keep moving in the right direction, tiny steps every day, you're going to get there. It might just take a little bit longer. Doesn't matter. And also, when you do that, like if you had 1 day in a week where you managed to do that, think about what actually happened. Figure out what made it doable for you that day, and then do more of that. And number 4, question your brain. Whenever it puts you down or gives you reasons for why you should have some carbs, don't listen to it. Like, question it. Why, brain, why do you think I should do that? What's the upside there? And you're probably not going to find an upside, or you're going to find more bullshit answers. So then you need to question those as well. And the last thing is, get support. If you have the means, get yourself a coach. It's invaluable. I'm not the only coach on earth that can help you. I'm happy to, but there are other capable coaches out there as well. And it's not just about accountability part. I think that the accountability part might be a little bit more important in the beginning, when you kind of need that sort of support. But it's about learning how to manage your brain, your mind. And do it in a sustainable way. So when I'm helping my clients, we're just working on the same thing to reprogram the brain and to spot similar patterns in your life to change all of it. And when you can do that, you can quit permanently, and it's not going to even feel that strange. Just a new way for you of being. And if you don't have the means to get a coach, find a community of like-minded people. You can join my Facebook group if you like and take an active part in there. There are many people joining and not saying anything. That's not going to help so much, but if you're in there and you're posting and you're helping other people and you're asking questions, you will get a lot of support, because we have lots of people in there that have quit and that are happy to help you and share their experiences. Just find a community of some sort, just for that little extra push. And if you want me to help you, you're going to make this a hell of a journey for you, because I will just take this to the next level. I can help most people quit in just a few weeks. It's usually easy when someone's committed, but I want permanent results for you. And the way I do that is that I work with all my clients for 6 months now, so that we get a pretty good feel for what life is like. When you do this for 6 months, we can go through a significant part of the year where we're going to come across a lot of things that would have meant that you would have fallen off the wagon in the past. So there might be birthdays and celebrations of some kind, or gatherings, going out to restaurants, whatever it is. Most of those things are going to come up in a 6-month period, and then we can address them and deal with them one by one to just build this into your being, to who you are, and tie that new habit to your personality or your identity, so that it just becomes who you are, and then it's no longer a struggle. It's going to be easy. So it's not going to be a fight ever. We don't want to fight, because you're genuinely not going to want to eat it anymore. And that's the beauty of it. And you're going to be able to have your life without the cravings, where you get to decide exactly what you want your life to look like and what role you want to play in that life. And that's the beauty of it. When we can get past those cravings and all the drama that comes up with that, we get to choose what we want our life to look like, and that is amazing. So if you're curious about that, if you are on the fence, just send me an email at pim@pimjansson.com. You will find the address in the description, and talk to me. You have nothing to lose. It's free. I'll just talk to you for an hour and we'll see where we get. Maybe you want to do it. Maybe you want to try it yourself. Maybe you don't want to do it at all. It doesn't matter. If you're on the fence and you think that I might want to do it, come and talk to me, because I might be able to help you in just an hour. I've done it before. I've spoken to people for an hour and they quit sugar. They send me a message several months later and say, "Thank you so much, you changed my life." And they didn't even become my client. That's all some people need. That might be you, I don't know. But please do get in contact if you think that might help. Until next week, keep taking baby steps and celebrate every single baby step that you're taking. Bye!